The Dragonback Series by Timothy Zahn. Book 6, Dragon and Liberator. Chapter 9. The patrol ship was nowhere to be seen when the SNA reached the settlement Uncle Verge had mentioned.
Ah, wonderful, Uncle Verge growled. Now what?
Calm yourself,
Draco said.
He must have found some place out of sight to make his repairs.
I only see two buildings big enough, Jack said, pointing out the canopy of the town stretching out in front of them. Looks like both of them have doors big enough for the 29, too. Odd, Uncle Verge muttered. I wonder what they want with hangars that big out here in the middle of nowhere.
Don't know, Jack said. Don't really care either. Either of you have any preference as to which one we look at first? Jack felt some weight come onto his shoulder as Dracos lifted up his head for a better look.
He's in the farther of the two,
the Kadas said. Jack frowned down at him. How do you know?
There are swirl marks in the dust on the near side of that building,
Dracos said.
The other has no such marks.
Meaning something has just flown in there, Jack said, nodding agreement. Turning the control yoke a few degrees, he angled the SNA toward the building Dracos had indicated.
I don't know,
Uncle Verge said doubtfully.
If it was me, I'd have come in strictly on lifters with no drive at all.
That takes more time, and Chiggers is in a hurry, Jack reminded him. Besides, he doesn't know anyone else even knows about this little patrol ship deal.
It's still sloppy,
Uncle Verge declared.
So what's the plan,
Jack looked down at Dracos again. Over to you, Simby, he invited.
The leak is near the rear of the cabin,
Dracos said.
If he's found it and is in the process of sealing it, we should be able to slip in through the forward hatchway without being seen.
And then we clobber him?
Basically,
Dracos said.
Once we have the coordinates, it may be time for another talk with Harper.
Jack grimaced. Harper, handcuffed to the bunk in the SNA's second cabin, had so far been behaving himself. But that didn't mean Jack was ready to trust him. Far from it. Let's first get the coordinates, he said. Dracos, go grab me a tangler and a holster from the storage room while I put us down. He landed the SNA 4 blocks away, shielded from view by the second of the town's 2 large buildings. With Dracos riding his skin, he headed out. A few of the townspeople, all of them comfriends, were out and about. 2 or 3 of them gave Jack curious glances as he passed. But no one asked him any questions or complained about his choice of parking spaces. Probably, Jack thought, they figured he was with the other human who had unexpectedly dropped in on them. Hopefully, none of them would try to be helpful until Chiggers, his friend, had arrived. There was a small, person-sized entrance on the wall around the corner from the building's main hangar-style doors. It was locked, but Jack had brought his burglar tools with him, and it took him less than a minute to get it open. Holding his tangler ready, he slipped inside. The building's walls were lined with fine mesh panels that reached 3/4 of the way up the sides. The floor was heavy concrete, with a crosshatch of grooves that looked like wheel tracks of some kind. Several stacks of small boxes were lined up against the far wall. The patrol ship filled most of the remaining space. It was sitting nose in, its entry hatch open, and the ramp lowered.
Aha!
Dracos' thought came. Aha, what? Jack thought back, looking around. There was no sign of Chiggers anywhere that he could see.
Uncle Verge wondered earlier why a distant settlement like this would have a full-sized hangar,
Dracos explained.
You can see now that this is in fact a crop storage facility.
Jack looked around. He could see no such thing. I can?
Of course,
Dracos said.
Those mesh bins folded against the walls can be opened outward to create compartments for grain or vegetables.
With their vertical supports on wheels rolling out along the tracks in the floor, Jack said, nodding as he finally saw it. Well, that's one mystery solved. Good. Can we get back to the main subject at hand? He felt a bit of weight on his shoulder as Dracos lifted his jaws and flicked out his tongue.
He's definitely here,
The Kadas said.
I can taste his scent.
Jack took a deep breath and readjusted his grip on his tangler. Okay, he said. Let's go get him. He crossed to the boarding ramp. As he reached the bottom, he heard a faint sound of clinking metal coming from somewhere deep inside the ship. Not only home, but hard at work, he commentated, starting up the ramp. You want to hop off now or wait a little longer?
I think I should wait until we're inside.
Jack stopped just inside the hatch. There'd been something odd in the Kada's tone just then. What's wrong?
I don't know,
Dracos replied.
That metallic sound seems strange.
Strange how?
I don't know. Too rhythmic, perhaps.
Jack peered into the hatchway. Directly ahead of him was the open inner airlock door, which opened into a narrow corridor leading to the cockpit at the bow and the gun bays and the rest of the ship farther aft. So what do we do?
We go in,
The Kadas said.
Just be careful.
Grimacing, Jack stepped into the airlock. Nothing happened. He took 2 more steps to the inner airlock door, pausing there to look in both directions down the corridor. No one was visible. You sure that's chiggers you're smelling?
I'm positive,
Draco said.
The metallic sound seems to be coming from the left.
Carefully, Jack took a step into the corridor and started to turn that direction.
Move and you're dead,
Chiggers said quietly from somewhere behind him. Jack froze. Dracos?
He's too far back,
The Kadas said, his tone grim. Just chill it then. I'm not moving, Jack assured the other. Take it easy, okay?
Oh, I'll take it easy,
Chiggers said.
I'll take it plenty easy. Drop the weapon and kick it down the corridor to your right.
Jack obeyed.
Now put your hands on top of your head,
Chiggers ordered.
Fingers laced together.
Yeah, I know the drill, Jack said, again doing as he was told. I don't suppose we might be able to come sort of agreement.
The only agreement I'm interested in is you dead and me rich,
Chiggers said.
Where's that blasted dragon? Dragon, show yourself, right now, or I kill him. I'm here,
Draco said, lifting the top of his head over the back of Jack's collar.
Don't shoot! I would if I had any sense,
Chiggers muttered.
All right, keep going, straight ahead, face to the wall. Back on his skin, dragon, all the way on. I so much as see your nose and he's dead. Move all the way to the wall,
Dracos' thought whispered into Jack's mind. Way ahead of you, buddy, Jack assured him. He took 2 long steps forward to the far side of the corridor and leaned against the wall, pressing his chest firmly to the cold metal. And with a flicker of sensation, Dracos leaned off his skin and fell over the wall. This ought to look really good on your service record, Jack commented, speaking loudly enough to cover any sound the Kada might make as he landed on the concrete floor below. Neverland and Frost have both tried to nail me, and neither of them even came close.
Yeah, and I'll bet you tried to talk them to death, too,
Chiggers growled. The patrol ship vibrated slightly with the other's footsteps as he strode the rest of the way up the ramp and stepped through the hatchway.
What we're gonna do is...
Abruptly, there was a hollow-sounding thud, followed by a sort of crumpling sound.
All right, Jack,
Draco said. Jack turned around. Chiggers was sprawled half inside the airlock, unconscious. He was wearing a Malison ring flight suit, though with the helmet still off. A large and unpleasant-looking gun lay on the deck near his right hand. Nice job, Simby, Jack said, stepping over and retrieving the weapon. Too bad, though. I was looking forward to hearing how he thought he could put a Kada poet warrior out of action without killing him.
Perhaps keeping me alive was never part of his plan,
Draco said. Probably not, Jack conceded. Stuffing Chiggers' gun into his belt, he retrieved his tangler and peered aft down the corridor. So if that noise isn't him working on the leak, what is it?
Obviously some sort of bait,
Draco said.
hence the unusual rhythm I noticed earlier. He must have become suspicious of my sabotage and decided to lie in wait to see if anyone came calling.
And we walked right into it, Jack said, feeling his cheeks warming. Uncle Virgil had warned him over and over about both sloppiness and overconfidence. If it hadn't been for your jumping the wall trick, we'd have been up the creek for sure.
We wouldn't have been there for long,
Draco said, his voice dark.
Still, without the trick, I would probably have been forced to kill him.
Lucky chiggers, Jack murmured. Dracos was so civilized and pleasant most of the time that the boys sometimes forgot the sheer raw power that lay beneath those red-edged golden scales. Let's get to the cockpit and see if all this was worth the effort. It was. Here we go, Jack said, peering at the navigational display. It's even called Point 2, in fact. It's out past Trintonius, about a 2-day trip from your new home on Iota Clestis.
If that will, in fact, be our new home,
Draco said. Jack grimaced. Iota Clestis was probably still owned by the Choice Mining Group, which was itself owned by Braxton Universis. If Harper's appearance on Bromidum meant that Braxton had now become a part of Neverland's conspiracy, Kada and Shantine would probably have to hunt up a new place to move into. Assuming the refugees even survived that long. We'll make it work, Jack told Dracos firmly. Anyway, it's about a 4-day trip from here. We better grab some supplies and get moving.
Supplies?
Dracos asked, his tail curving in a frown. Didn't I tell you? Jack asked. We're taking the ship and heading to Point 2. Dracos's neck arched.
We're what?
Well, we're sure not taking the SNA into Neverland's hornet's nest, Jack pointed out. How did you think we were going to get there?
I assumed we would now try to make a deal with Harper and Braxton.
I don't trust Harper, Jack said flatly, or Braxton.
I believe Braxton to be trustworthy,
Draco said, a bit hesitantly.
From comments Allison has made, I gather she also has no reason to distrust him.
Well, cheers to Allison, Jack said. If it comes to that, I don't necessarily trust her either. She and I might be on the same side at the moment, but she's not leveling with us. Not completely.
Probably not,
Dracos conceded.
On the other hand, the only people we'll find at Point 2 will definitely not be on our side.
Leave that to me, Simby, Jack told him. Reaching to his collar, he turned on his comm clip. Uncle Verge?
Right here, Jack lad.
The computerized voice came back instantly.
You all right? Yeah?
We're fine, Jack said. You want to bring the SNA over? We've got another passenger for you, and I don't feel like lugging him through the streets. There was a short silence.
Another passenger? Yeah?
Don't worry. I'm sure he and Harper will get along like a house on fire, Jack said. Now move it. We're on a schedule here. Harper, as it turned out, was not at all pleased with his new roommate.
This is ridiculous,
he fumed as Jack secured Chiggers to the thick metal cable fastened to one of the pipes on the far side of the cabin. I know, Jack said, but what can I say? The SNA hasn't got a proper brig. Chiggers muttered something nasty sounding, his breath a puff of warmth against Jack's cheek as the boy double-checked the mercenary's handcuffs. The man was seething, but there wasn't a thing he could do about his situation. Not with Draco standing watchful guard at his side.
I've already told you I'm on your side,
Harper said.
I can help you.
And all who believe that, raise their hands, Jack said, backing away from Chiggers. Okay, you can both get to the food and water supply in the bathroom, but there's nothing either of you can use to cut your tethers or unlock your cuffs.
You got something to keep me from killing him while he sleeps?
Chiggers demanded, glaring across at Harper. Without his fancy Malice and Ring flight suit, Jack reflected, Chiggers looked and sounded more like a street punk than a big bad mercenary soldier. Harper apparently thought so too.
I'd be real careful about trying something like that, sonny boy.
he said, his voice sending a shiver up Jack's back.
Half asleep, I could still take you.
I guess maybe we'll find out about that, Chiggers retorted. I guess maybe we won't, Jack put in, because Uncle Verge is going to be keeping an eye on you. Say hello to the nice men, Uncle Verge.
No, I don't think we really thought this through, Jack lad,
Uncle Verge said darkly.
Now, what if they do make trouble, nah? For me or each other, huh?
Then you crack open one of the soapworm mist canisters from Allison's collection that I've hooked into the air system, Jack said. There are 3 of them, wired separately, in case you feel like giving them more than one chance.
And what happens when I've used up all the canisters, huh?
Uncle Verge persisted. Then they'll really be sorry they made trouble, Jack said, watching both men carefully. Because if and when you have to crack the 3rd one, you're to fly them to Roark's mill on Cavendish while they're sleeping. Harper frowned. Clearly, the name meant nothing to him. Chigger's reaction was far more interesting. There was a catch in his breath, and his eyes narrowed. You wouldn't dare, he said. Oh, yes, I would, Jack assured him.
What's Roark's mill?
Harper asked.
It's a hangout for killers and thugs,
Chiggers growled.
The Internos has tried a dozen times to clear it out, including hiring the Malison Ring and a couple of other merc groups to handle the grunt work. But the scum just keep coming back.
It's also a hangout for less violent people, like con artists and safecrackers, Jack said. Uncle Virgil and I visited the place a couple of times, and he still has acquaintances there. I'm sure that once Uncle Verge explains the situation, they'll take good care of you until I come back.
You send us there and we're dead,
Chiggers said flatly. Very possibly, Jack agreed. Reason enough for you to behave yourselves? Harper shifted his shoulders.
Jack!
Have a nice time, Jack said, backing out of the room. Dracos didn't speak again until they were loading their supplies aboard the patrol ship.
I still don't know what you're planning, Jack,
he said.
But I have to agree with Uncle Verge. You may not have thought this through.
I'm not all that crazy about it myself, Jack admitted, but I actually have thought it through. Remember, I was brought up to be a con man. I know how people think.
I appreciate your talents in that area,
Draco said.
But none of that will matter once they see you're not Chiggers.
Oh, there are ways around that, Jack assured him. Or at least ways to delay the magic moment. The bottom line is that Neverland's group is on the move, and this may be our only chance to hook up with them. If you've got a better idea, I'm all ears.
You've already heard my idea to make a deal with Harper and Braxton,
Draco said.
You've already rejected it.
Though not without some regret, Jack said. I'd love to show up at the rendezvous with a wedge of Braxton University security ships behind me, but I don't trust Harper or Braxton.
So you've said,
Dracos gave a quiet sigh.
Very well. If we're going to do this, we'd best be on our way.
Jack took a deep breath. Yeah,